Are the Mets going after Devin Williams in free agency this offseason to bolster the New York Mets bullpen? And can they build a potential super bullpen this offseason at the hands of David Stearns? We're discussing this topic right here on the True Mets Talk podcast before we fully break this down and take a look at the free agency market for Devin Williams and the outlook of the New York Mets signing him. Make sure to smash those thumbs up buttons on this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Mets fans, would you all want to see Devin Williams in orange and blue in 2026 and beyond? Because this comes after a report from none other than Jeff Passan, MLB insider and ESPN reporter. Per Jeff Passan, the Mets are in on Devin Williams. As you can see with the tweet right here to my left, per the SNY Mets account, Williams had a career high in the ERA category at 4.79 with the Yankees last season after they traded for him in the previous offseason in a trade that sent Caleb Durbin over to Milwaukee in exchange for Devin Williams. And he was 18 for 22 in save opportunities. The Yankees pulled Devin Williams from the closer role sometime in late April after a blown save. I think he eventually worked his way back into the closer role on some occasions, and then they pulled him again in August. And that was the up and down season that Devin Williams had in pinstripes. But before that, Williams was an all-star with the Brewers in 2022 and 2023, and he converted 68 of 78 save opportunities in his 6 seasons with the Milwaukee Brewers organization. And this is a really interesting target because clearly David Stearns has this connection in his Milwaukee days with Devin Williams. And it's going to be very interesting also the conversation that is to be had surrounding the Mets' ability to get both Devin Williams and Edwin Diaz. Because the other piece of information surrounding this Jeff Passan report is that the Mets are still prioritizing bringing back Edwin Diaz while also pursuing Devin Williams on the free agency market, which means that Devin Williams would be the setup guy in the 8th inning for Edwin Diaz, closing out ball games if everything came to fruition in a perfect manner. Now, I have my doubts that both can be had, especially when you take a look at the market surrounding Devin Williams and Edwin Diaz, with teams that are hungry for that 8th or 9th inning guy like the Dodgers and the Blue Jays who are willing to spend really big money. But with the pockets of Steve Cohen, with the upcoming CBA negotiations, time to build a competent bullpen and a competent roster in general is right now before any payroll implications change after the CBA negotiations. But let's take a look at this free agent outlook for Devin Williams. And it's really important to kind of consider him coming off of such a down season. And for those of you all who are paying attention to these videos on my channel, you all know that I like to go on Spotrac for all my projected contract values for these upcoming free agents. And they have him set at 3 years, $42.2 million this free agency, just around $11 million per year for the services of Devin Williams. Now, could he take a 1 year deal, right, and try to prove himself and go back out onto the market? Can there be an opt out here somewhere in the middle? Yes, all these possibilities are certainly on the table, especially if the New York Mets are going to try to build a team and a bullpen where Devin Williams is on the same squad as Edwin Diaz. There's going to need to be some money matchmaking abilities here, unless Steve Cohen is just willing to say screw it and let's spend $70 million on a bullpen, which is certainly plausible. And I'll get into that here in one of the next slides. But, this is the 2024 and 2025 outlook. 2024 for Devin Williams was an injury-plagued season. Back in the tail end of 2023, he did push through some back injuries. And once he got the MRI in the offseason before 2024, it revealed that he had some stress fractures in his back that kept him out of play for the first half of the 2024 season. He came back off the IL in late July, and you can see the numbers that he posted in just 21 and 2/3 innings pitched, a 1.25 ERA. He was absolutely magnificent, but we all know how his season ended, especially how the Brewers season ended in that wild card round and that big home run that he surrendered to Mr. Pete Alonso, who we are also talking about plenty on this channel with his free agency upcoming. And everything went down for Devin Williams. You know, there are conversations, especially at the tail end of 2024, surrounding him maybe tipping his pitches with the way that Pete Alonso hit his home run and the way that Jeremy Barnes was speaking to Pete Alonso while he was on deck when Devin Williams came in. The ERA was skyrocketed in 2025 for Williams, 4.79. Walks and hits per innings pitched went up in comparison. The strikeout rate went down. But like I said, that strikeout rate at 34.7 is still well above league average, and you take that and all day long, even though it is not one of his career highs per se. And the walk rate for Devin Williams actually went down in comparison to the previous season in 2025 to 9.7, but he still had so many problems. And why is that, right? I have two answers for you all on why this might be the case without speculating on him potentially tipping his pitches. The changeup was hit hard, and so was the fastball. And you can see that directly reflected to my left of the hard hit rate. He surrendered a career high hard hit rate percentage at 35.7%. You can see that yellow line is the 2025 season in comparison to all the other lines that are other seasons for Devin Williams in his career. And you can see in those middle years, he's in the high 20s in terms of hard hit rate, which is very elite. And he was a very elite closer for the Brewers for so long, as we saw on the previous slide. And something happened over the past couple of seasons. Even in 2024, he was getting hit pretty hard in comparison to those previous years, but the ERA was just not reflective of it. But in 2025, it definitely was. And you can see that with the 35.7% hard hit rate percentage. But also the pitch usage for Devin Williams has kind of changed over the years. Now, first thing that you notice is that back in 2020, 2021, and even 2022, he had a slider and he utilized a slider. It was a small percentage at the time, but he decided to replace that slider with a cutter. And the cutter also has been decreasing in usage because when he implemented it, it got knocked around a little bit, right? It got knocked around a little bit, and that is just not one of his strong suits, right? In throwing that cutter. So really, he is a two-pitch pitcher with the changeup and the four-seamer. And also, we all know that he is the airbender, right? That changeup is the airbender. That's what they call him. It's a ridiculous changeup. It's like now you see it, now you don't for an opposing hitter. But I think that the key to Devin Williams, and we spoke about this on the live stream in the Mets Hot Stove, and we talked about Devin Williams yesterday. If you missed it, I'll link that live stream link down in the description down below. You can also find it on my channel. But the key to setting up that changeup is the fastball, and there has to be a perfect blend and a perfect mix for Devin Williams when he is deciding between that changeup and the four-seamer. I'm not saying that the four-seamer is going to overshadow the changeup because you don't go away from your bread and butter if you're Devin Williams, which is your changeup, but he has increasingly started to use his four-seam fastball more, and that has hindered him. And it did hinder him in 2025 when he utilized it. Not 50-50, but very close to 50-50. When you see in previous seasons, he's about 37-58 in 2022. 2021, he was 34-63. And really, since 2020, right, when he was 52-43, that 2025 is the first season since 2024, Devin Williams in utilizing his fastball at such a high clip. Now, I'm not sure what the strategy is for him moving forward. I'm not sure if he's going to continue to implement the fastball at such a high rate, but clearly he needs to go back and reevaluate the differential here between these two pitches and focus a little bit more on his changeup. At least that's what the Savant page says and what I'm trying to relate to you all right now. But this is the question right now as it pertains to Jeff Passan's report. It has to be an and situation for the New York Mets and not an or situation. Priority number one, as I've mentioned time and time again, should be Edwin Diaz, and it should be nobody else besides Edwin Diaz. Get him back onto this roster to create a competent bullpen. But if you're telling me that Devin Williams can come to Queens in addition to re signing Edwin Diaz, I don't care what he did in 2025 in the Yankees organization. We also know that David Stearns likes to sign former Yankees. That has been the trend since he has stepped in as president of baseball operations. But Devin Williams and Edwin Diaz would be such a dynamic 8th, 9th inning punch. I am all here for that. And you also have Brooks Raley. You have AJ Minter. And if you also missed the previous video when I talked about the free agency outlook and the decision of re signing Tyler Rogers, I am in favor of re signing Tyler Rogers. If you get this core five in a bullpen together in 2026, that would be, as you see per my X account, magical. That would be a magical bullpen because at that point, you have these five veterans, and then you can backfill the bullpen internally. Christian Scott's coming back. Dylan Ross got the call up late. We didn't see much of him, but he's also a highly anticipated and electric arm that you can utilize in the bullpen. You won't have Reed Garrett. You won't have some of these other guys that we've been seeing over the past couple of seasons. But I think if you are able to build this bullpen core with the names that you see on your screen, that will be a really good head start. And then at that point, it's just plug and play for the rest of those innings in the 5th inning and even the 6th inning before you get to these guys right here. And I also talk about a blend of guys that are electric versus maybe a little bit more finesse. Tyler Rogers, as I mentioned in the video, submariner, a soft tosser, so to speak, relies on the ground ball. Devin Williams is a soft tosser with a changeup, but he's able to generate strikeouts, unlike Tyler Rogers with that changeup, that deadly changeup that he has. AJ Minter from the left side, a little bit more of a power pitcher, relying on a mid 90s, maybe 96, 97 mile per hour fastball if he really rears back. I'm expecting a big bounce back from AJ Minter. I really like that signing when it first happened. Unfortunately, the injury happened as well. Brooks Raley from the left side as well. That's your dynamic lefty duo potentially in 2026. Also a little bit more of a soft tosser, but he was very effective when he came back off the injured list and also re-signed with the Mets mid-season in 2025. And then you have Edwin Diaz. We all know what he possesses. He has 100 miles per hour in his back pocket and that lethal slider as well. This is a really good combination of names right here. The money would just be the issue. You're going to be looking at upwards of $20 million for Edwin Diaz. As I mentioned, with the projected value here of Devin Williams in his future contract, maybe $11 million per year if it all shakes out the correct way for Devin Williams. And then you have Brooks Raley for cheap, AJ Minter for kind of cheap, and then Tyler Rogers is also in line for about $10 to $11 million for either 2 or 3 years. This is a little bit far-fetched. This is my dream scenario, but at this point, this early in the offseason, you have to dream, especially when there's a big task at hand for David Stearns in building a competent bullpen, basically from the ground up. Mets fans, let me know what you think of this video. Are you in or are you out on Devin Williams, especially if the New York Mets are able to retain Edwin Diaz? I think Steve Cohen is going to go for it. I really do. I don't think that it's an or situation. It's not Diaz or Williams. It's both of these guys that could be headlining the back end of this bullpen. Smash those thumbs up buttons. See you all in the next video. Let's go Mets.